it's so much more than just a golf tournament. Certainly it is. We have the best golfers in the world, and if you're a golf fan, it's your best opportunity to see the top 70 players up close and in person. But it's also, to your point, an economic driver. It's a global commercial for our city. It is a incredible charitable impact generator.
I'm your host, Taylor Ann Carpenter, and welcome to The Talk Chamber, a production of the Greater Memphis Chamber. The Talk Chamber is the podcast for the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Our episode today is about one of the biggest events in Memphis. I'm excited to sit down with Joe Tomek, Executive Director of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So let's just dive right in, Joe. What's the story behind the FedEx St. Jude Championship, and how did you end up getting involved?
Sure. So the FedEx St. Jude Championship is Memphis's annual PGA TOUR event. We have had one here in our city since 1958, which actually makes us one of the longest standing cities to consecutively host a PGA TOUR event. Quite a mouthful there, but it's a awesome accomplishment because it takes a long time of support from the community, from a title sponsor such as FedEx, a great golf course, and commitment from our players to keep coming back each and every year. And this year will be our 68th year of celebrating that. So we're really excited for another great year.
That's awesome. I didn't know that we're the oldest or one of the oldest cities to consecutively hold a PGA tournament. That is so cool. We all know that August is quickly approaching and the tournament is heating up. As executive director, what's your role in that?
Yeah, so ultimately, general oversight over the entire event. I'm blessed to have a very talented team of individuals that work tirelessly all year for this 1 week. We often joke that our jobs are working all year for 5 days, really. But goes to show how much there goes into it to pull off such an incredible event. So, we're blessed with an awesome operations team, sales team, and event services team that really make the whole thing tick. And then 1,600 volunteers that really come tournament week pull it all off. So my job as executive director is to provide general strategy and oversight over that team of very talented individuals, help head off or solve any problems that come their way. And, primarily focused on marketing, media, and general strategy for the growth of the event. How do we continue to make it bigger, better, and, giving back to both the hospital as well as giving back to the city of Memphis in a much greater capacity each year.
Right. And what were those dates again? Was August?
We are August 6th through the 10th. So we are, after 68th year of hosting an event here in Memphis, in 2022, we made a change in an elevation to become the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So that pushed us back into the August timeframe where we currently are, which is a huge opportunity because it means all season long our players are competing with the sole objective of making it to Memphis, of starting their postseason journey right here at TPC Southwind. And, what it's done is brought the best players in the world to our city each and every year, guaranteed. You have to qualify. There's no special invites. There's no past champions exemptions or anything to that extent. And it means the eyes of the golf world, truly the world, are on our city hosting one of the biggest events of professional sports. So it's an awesome honor, a great privilege to be this high caliber of a tournament in our city.
It's definitely an honor, and it's so cool to see. I'm born and raised here, so awesome. I have seen the golf tournament grow and evolve, and I have memories of, just being in the same kind of area as Southwind, and just seeing all these cars and all these people and all these. It's something that you can't miss if you're in Memphis during that time of year, and it's a great event, and it really truly, I think, is a highlight for a lot of people.
100%. Yeah, I got here in the end of 2021, so I've gone through 3 tournaments now, going into my 4th. Moved here from Jacksonville with my wife Paige, and very quickly found Memphis as our home. And obviously blessed to be in this position and take over the tournament from some incredibly talented individuals who came before me. And I think a big piece of us calling Memphis home is the receptiveness we've received from the community, which you obviously expressed, and being a part of such a unique and special event, you're continuously approached by people who have such fond memories of growing up with going to the tournament, even prior to TPC Southwind when it was at Old Colonial. I can't tell you the amount of volunteers even that have been volunteering for this tournament longer than I've been alive. And to have that, continuous reminder of the impact of the work that we do and the long hours and the tireless nights and all that, it really pays off and makes it special that we get to contribute to such an awesome community asset.
It's funny because I know people who for years have been going to the tournament, and once, new dates are released, they're like, I know exactly what day it's going to be, and I'm trying to plan something with them, and they're like, oh, no, that's not going to work for me. I've got the golf tournament.
I love it. Yeah.
And so it's funny to see. And it's also, which I'm sure you've probably experienced this, where you run into somebody at the tournament that you haven't seen in forever, that you had no idea was going to be there.
I really want to start talking about it more as Memphis's summer reunion. 100%. We want people to understand and believe that it is the place to be that week. And it's a place that not only can you celebrate and cherish with your close friends and family and colleagues, but also get a chance to see the city at its finest, see some of the people that you might only ever see once a year, but you look forward to seeing them each and every year. And that's definitely something we're excited about as the tournament, to continue improving and making sure people believe and feel that.
I'd love to go ahead and jump into the economic impact. So at the Chamber, a lot of our work is all around economic development, and the tournament has been around for 68 years, and it's definitely had an economic impact on the whole city. It's a highly anticipated event. So after all this time, I'm confident that it's been a positive impact, and that it's been an impact both, in a community sense, but also in an economic sense. So how does the tournament boost Memphis's economy, whether that's just tourism, local business? What ways does it boost our local economy?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things that I try to harp on is it's so much more than just a golf tournament. Certainly it is. We have the best golfers in the world, and if you're a golf fan, it's your best opportunity to see the top 70 players up close and in person. But it's also, to your point, an economic driver. It's a global commercial for our city. It is a incredible charitable impact generator, most certainly with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, but with others as well. On the economic side of things, by our last calculation, we drive about $89 million in economic impact each year, and that was several years ago, so I'm sure that's gone up since then. Predominantly based on the global exposure, to my point. The PGA Tour is broadcast to over 200 countries around the world that are watching our tournament, or our city host this tournament. More recently, since we became a playoff event, we've seen a dramatic growth in out-of-town individuals, ticket holders who are coming. In 2023, that number actually went 60% out of town to 40% in town. It was the first time to our understanding that more people came from outside than inside of the city, which is fantastic because that means they're likely staying in our hotels, they're shopping in our shops, they're eating in our restaurants, or in general getting to experience Memphis maybe than they otherwise would have ever had the opportunity to. We're also seeing a tremendous influx of corporate partners that are coming to our city to host their clients, their vendors, their employees at our golf tournament because it is one of the marquee events on the PGA Tour. And so cities across not just the Mid-South region, but truly all over the country are flying into our airport, our beautifully renovated airport, to host customers and entertain. And it's awesome to hear their feedback of not just enjoying the tournament, but enjoying the city, because they came here without ever having been here before, and somewhere they probably weren't ever going to come to if it weren't for the golf tournament. And now they make it an annual trip because they had such a great experience.
That's awesome. So can we back up for a moment?
Sure.
Some of our listeners may not be super familiar with how golf works, how the tournament works. Could you just give us a brief overview of, how you are affiliated with PGA, what that means for players, and then just kind of a grand overview?
Yeah, so I can peel back the layers a little bit. Golf is a very confusing landscape once you kind of get into the weeds a bit. For instance, there is a difference actually between the PGA and the PGA Tour, which most people don't understand.
Okay.
Used to be one organization and split, I believe, in the late 80s. PGA of America really is their full entity, is the teaching and amateur side of the game. So anytime you go to a golf club and want to learn or take lessons from a teaching pro, that is a PGA certified individual. The PGA Tour is the men's professional league for touring golfers, and that's the league in which our event is a part of. And not only that, we're actually one of only 5 events that are owned and operated by the league itself. So myself, my employees at TPC Southwind are all employees of the PGA Tour directly. There's only 4 other events that are like that. And we often say the PGA Tour is not in the business to run and own events. We are actually a membership organization. We work for our players. But the events that are most important to our membership, most important to our sponsors, such as FedEx, or just large and impactful in nature, we want to make sure we control that experience and run it to the best of our ability. And so in 2019, when the event elevated from, at the time, the FedEx St. Jude Classic to the World Golf Championship, part of that transition involved the PGA Tour actually coming in and becoming the operating entity behind the event. I myself was actually working at headquarters for the PGA Tour in a support role for all of the events that we own and operate. And so I had a chance to come to Memphis for several years, supported the team here in my prior position. And when my predecessor decided to move on, I had the opportunity to come out to Memphis and take over. So PGA Tour is structured on a points-based system known as actually the FedEx Cup. So our local hero, FedEx, is the season-long sponsor of the PGA Tour. It created a point system that from January through August, our players are competing to earn FedEx Cup points. And at the end of the regular season, which happens the week before our tournament, the top 70 players on that list qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs. Ours is the first event of the playoffs, meaning we have the first 70 players. From there, only 50 move on to the second week, which is the BMW Championship. And then finally, 30 players move on to Atlanta at the Tour Championship, where they'll have a chance to win the FedEx Cup, which also comes with a $25 million purse for the winner that gets to lift the cup. So it truly is what we call the hardest 3-week stretch in professional golf. You need to compete and be at the top of your game for 3 straight weeks, 4 rounds of no cut. So our event will be open to the public Wednesday through Sunday with live competition rounds Thursday through Sunday. No cut, so all 70 players will be there Thursday through Sunday, which has been a huge boost to us for particularly out-of-town customers. If you're coming over from Jonesboro, St. Louis, Nashville even, you have a chance to come on the weekend and make sure that your son, daughter, whomever gets to see their favorite star, no matter how well they're doing in that week's tournament. So it's been a big change for us too.
It's very cool. Like you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, players are spending all season working up, getting points, trying to get to Memphis, and that's such a cool thing for our city and something so like a fun thing to just talk about. Say,
100%.
we have professional golfers spending their season to get to Memphis.
Yeah, I'd often joke that if Tiger Woods called us tomorrow and said that he wanted to make it to Memphis and come play this year, unfortunately our answer would have to be earn it, go play better. And I'd certainly love to have Tiger come to our city and play in our golf tournament, but it goes to show how difficult it is to make our field. And what that ultimately nets out is last year our event had the 3rd strongest field in all of golf, which means only the Players Championship and the PGA Championship had stronger fields, meaning better players, better quality players in their fields, which means we had a better tournament than the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, or any other regular season PGA Tour event, which truly means if you want to see the best players in the world, our tournament is it. It is the best chance to see it in the country. So, that's really flipped the script from the FedEx St. Jude Classic of old, which was an incredible community-driven event that happened usually around June or early July timeframe. But we really didn't get any of the top stars. And really thanks to FedEx and their support of the PGA Tour as a whole and their influence as the season-long sponsor, it was important to them that our event got bigger and better, and that's why we saw the shift to first the World Golf Championship and now eventually the FedEx Cup playoffs.
That's awesome. That is so cool. So to get back to economic impact. Are there any partners with local organizations or industries that have amplified the tournament's economic impact? You talked about FedEx being, title sponsor, sponsoring other PGA tours, but just any other local partnerships.
Yeah, I think it's multifold. One, it's buy-in from our partners like FedEx or AutoZone, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Memphis Tourism, even the Chamber, who are bringing in customers from out of town and hosting them at this tournament. By and large, it used to be a very locally driven audience. You were giving tickets to your employees and your friends and your family, and I hope and believe that still happens. But our corporations are finally or starting to realize the value that we have as a global or international property. And so they're using it to bring customers to town for, an annual showcase of our city, of their facilities, if they're taking them to warehouse tours or whatever that might be. So first of all, it starts with buy-in from our partners who are bringing and encouraging customers or employees to come from out of town to stay in our city for that week. Second, for us, it's important that we, while on site, we provide as much of a Memphis experience as we can provide. And so that starts with, the artwork that you see, in addition to being, just digitally generated with graphic designers that work for us. We also go out and hire local Memphian artists who are producing some of the artwork and signage that you see and giving them a showcase to show off our very talented art culture and scene here in Memphis. Food, we have a number of food partners that instead of or in addition to your traditional sports fare, hot dogs, hamburgers, nachos, et cetera. We want to make sure you get a chance to taste Memphis. And so we have a number of partners from your traditional barbecue like Rendezvous and Commissary to Andrew Michael Restaurant Group, who have their own concession stand out there. And the Birdie Sandwich is a menu item that they only offer during tournament week, and it's incredible. To newer ones like Smackers or Coffee Black or Pronto Pup, obviously, is a staple at our community events. So it's important for us to have those local vendors out there for one, getting to showcase our diversity of cuisine that we offer in Memphis, but also then they're the ones that are benefiting from the monetary sales of our concession fares. Finally, back of house, identifying there's probably 35 to 40 different vendors that we need. Close to anywhere from 800 to 900 employees that are working on the tournament over about a 7-month period. Really starting in May is when we start construction for the tournament. And that's everything from the tents and catering companies to, those that are running our AV equipment and sound systems and picking up our trash. And so we find it important to make sure that we're being connected to the right local vendors, such as a service master who's out there and helping with our ecology services, moving around our waste and making sure the event is pretty and clean. So it's each and every year it's incumbent upon us to find vendors that are benefiting from the tournament, being here in Memphis, and have a chance to put forward bids and make sure they're a part of the great championship.
That's awesome. So you kind of touched on this a little bit. I always say that economic development and workforce development go hand in hand. And you mentioned 800 to 900 jobs surrounding the tournament for 7 months. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it starts in May is when we start building predominantly our tent construction. And that is a vendor that's going tournament to tournament throughout the year and constructing these mega tents that you ultimately will see out there August 6th through the 10th. But that goes obviously a lot heavier come tournament week when you have all of the staff out there working at one time, ensuring that it's a smooth operations event. For us, it's happened twofold. One, as I mentioned, directly hiring or employing local vendors or branches that are out there working on the tournament, either in a front of house or back of house capacity. And then two, it's, how do we use this opportunity? And in particular for me, we've talked a lot with students, either in high school or college, who are in the phase of trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, right? We were all there once. And, you don't get to do what we do as a team without seeing a path there or even knowing that it exists. And we talk a lot about how kids often say, all of us at one point in time thought, I want to do sports for a living. Like, I want to be a professional athlete. And there's very few of us, myself included, that works out for. And, but at some point in time, I was able and luckily enough to identify that just because I might not be an athlete doesn't mean a future in sports is off the table. And, that was because I had mentors or exposure opportunities to see these mega events happen and how do they come to life. And there are jobs and careers that are dedicated to that. And so, either with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club of Memphis, or with schools directly, with our college and universities in town, using the tournament, either coming to the classroom and speaking to them, or more importantly, bringing them out to the tournament to showcase not only what my core team does, but the 40 to 50 other vendors that are out there, and the variety of roles from construction to technology to data capture, marketing, social media, you name it. There is a role for everyone in the sports industry, and we feel it's incumbent upon us as one of those events in town to make sure that people are seeing that opportunity, whether they think golf is for them or not. You can still find a career working in it. We laugh. There's one person in our staff that played golf in college. The rest are just people that found an enjoyment working in the industry.
That's awesome. That is so good to hear. So I want to shift gears just a bit and kind of talk about the community and the cultural impact. Beyond the dollars and the donations, how does the FedEx St. Jude Championship bring Memphians together or inspire our community? Do you have any stories that you could share about that?
Yeah, I think obviously from a charitable impact side of things, we have one of the greatest stories in I think all of sports and entertainment. Our relationship with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital goes so much more than just the check or donations that we're able to generate each and every year, which is not insubstantial. Last year it was $7.6 million that we were able to generate for the hospital, and that crossed an $80 million total giving over the lifespan of our relationship. That starts with FedEx, who is our title sponsor and the main corporate sponsor associated with the event. They allow St. Jude to be in the event name because it showcases and sets a foundation for this event being much bigger and more important than any marketing assets or exposure. For us, we say that goes beyond the check because it's ingrained in everything we do. The players are wearing patient artwork on their hats and their gloves and their shoes. The caddies are wearing patient artwork on each of their bibs that they have to wear throughout the tournament week. And the most important thing, Sunday afternoon, when our leaders or our players are finishing their round of golf, whether they won it or lost it, birdied or bogeyed, they are shaking the hands of one of the sickest kids in the world and putting a smile on their face in doing so. And that's such an awesome goosebumps moment to showcase that this means so much more than just a golf tournament. Beyond our relationship with St. Jude, which is obviously core to what we do, we've really tried finding ways to continue benefiting our community year round. How do we, as a tournament that happens once a year, have an impact and presence in our community on a year round basis? And so, really proud that we launched earlier this year, Positively Memphis Community Fund, which is a quarterly grant program designed for us to identify needs in our community that we might not otherwise have known about. And so each quarter we have a different set of criteria or subject of which we're looking for. The first quarter, for instance, was health and wellness. That's obviously very core to what we do as a sport entity. This one currently going on is education focused. We'll probably do a military one. We'll probably do maybe a food and beverage one. You name it. And it's allowed us to find organizations that we might not have ever heard about or initiatives that are trying to take off or trying to do better in our community, but are missing the funds to be able to do so. Finding things like that we can commit to, again, continue showing our team that we have such a far-reaching impact on this city, and there's so much more work we can be doing. Each and every year we sponsor dog adoptions at the Humane Society for a couple weeks to make sure that dogs are free and get out of the shelter and find loving homes. We greet newborns in our area hospitals with little baby onesies, courtesy of the tournament, to welcome them to our city and embrace them in this mega event that's happening in our hometown. And of course, there's a number of ways that we're trying to grow participation in the game of golf. The first tee is the PGA Tours, and ours here in Memphis's main Grow the Game initiative. So the first tee of Memphis came back in 2019 largely because of the sport of FedEx and the PGA Tour, and it's regenerating their efforts to grow the game for juniors in Memphis and really teach life lessons through the game of golf. And then a number of partnerships with the city of Memphis, who's invested heavily in our public golf courses over the last few years. Anything to me that grows the game of golf and puts clubs in more kids' hands is really important. Particularly in the city of Memphis that is 66+% African American. Golf isn't a place that has always been super accepting and welcoming of diverse communities, and that's a shame and nothing that I personally or our tournament is going to fix overnight. But why not try? We want people to understand that golf is for everyone. It's a sport you can enjoy no matter what age, gender, race, religion, you name it. It's something that you can play together with a young person in their 20s and their grandparent in their 80s. They can play alongside each other, and you can't say that about any other sport in the world. So, we feel it's incumbent upon us as the peak of golf in our community to spearhead efforts to make sure that more clubs get in more kids' hands or more people's hands across the city.
I think giving back is so important, and like you said, it's more than just a golf tournament. Yeah. It's not, as incredible as it is that all these players are coming to Memphis to play in this tournament. It goes a little bit deeper than that. It's not just surface level.
Yeah, and that's our biggest thing is if you're not a golf fan and couldn't name a single one of the 70 best players in the world, that's fine. I think you'd be surprised at how much you can enjoy yourself out at the golf tournament, how many people you'll run into, to your point, that you haven't seen in forever. There's a lot of stigma around golf that if you're not in that world, you don't necessarily understand that you have to be super quiet and you can't have your phone out, or you have to wear a polo tucked in at all times, and all of that is actually untrue. And we're really trying to break down those barriers to make sure people understand you can have a ton of fun. You can cheer really loud. You can take videos and post it on your social to make sure people know you're enjoying yourself. You can wear a T-shirt and your favorite sundress and a ball cap worn backwards and sneakers. It doesn't matter. You can, it is an event that just happens to have a golf tournament going on. It is very much a festival atmosphere that we want people to embrace and enjoy.
So how do you think hosting the PGA Tour event has put Memphis on a world stage? And what do you think it's doing for our city's identity and just the pride that we have as citizens?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest opportunities we have, and we need to further educate the city on is this truly is one of, if not our biggest global showcase on an annual basis. I already mentioned that the PGA Tour is broadcast around the world to over 200 countries, over 36 different languages that have the opportunity to watch our tournament hosting one of the biggest and most important events in professional golf each and every year. And that means that when they're watching it, they're also seeing beauty shots of our downtown or of the Mississippi River, of Beale Street, Tom Lee Park. We're intentionally partnering with our broadcast partners, whether it's NBC or CBS. It alternates each year with beautiful B-roll footage of our city so that when they're going in and out of the broadcast, or even when they're here staying themselves, they're getting a chance to experience and see the positive side of our community, right? There's enough people talking about the negative, and unfortunately that's the majority of what the outside world hears. But this is such a positive event happening on our city with the best players in the world, with an incredible charitable impact story. We talk a lot about St. Jude becoming America's charity, and this tournament through its spotlight is really trying to help make sure that the hospital becomes the world's charity. And we truly believe that's the platform we have. Our favorite anecdote for this past year, our champion, Hideki Matsuyama, is an international superstar. He's a citizen of Japan. After he won, our event became the most watched PGA Tour event in Japanese television history. And that's a quirky and fun anecdote to say, but you think about the investments that Japanese companies are making in manufacturing or advanced technologies. They could be sitting there deciding upon whether to open a new facility in Memphis or not while they turn on the TV and see our city host one of the biggest events in the world. That's the impact and opportunity that we believe our tournament has to make for our city.
That's a great point. Especially, that's such a fun anecdote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is your big vision for the FedEx St. Jude Championship future? And how do you see it shaping Memphis moving forward?
Yeah. I think our biggest opportunity is to continue to embrace and bring in non-golf fans to a golfing world. Whether that means they leave with interest to pick up a club or not, hopefully they've broken down some of the barriers that this tournament can be something they can enjoy, come back to each and every year, and really remove some of the stigma and rightfully so perceptions that they have about the golf community. Certainly, we're going to continue driving the attendance and reach that we're bringing from outside of Memphis. That's predominantly a golf fan audience that's coming to town to watch and see the best players in the world. But within Memphis, we know our greatest growth opportunity is non-golf fans and the social seekers or community seekers that are looking for something to do and maybe are curious about whether the tournament's for them. We're really encouraging them just to try it. One of the things we're most proud of is that kids 15 and under each and every year get in completely free to the tournament. So if you're a family of 4 who's looking for something to do, you only need to buy 2 tickets or 1 ticket for the adult, and you can bring in 2 kids with that 1 ticket. We want to make it affordable and enjoyable for families alike and socialites and young professionals and everyone in between. I guarantee you there is something for everyone to do and enjoy out at the tournament. And if you end up liking the sport and following one of our golfers because you think they have a great personality or getting the itch to pick up a club for the first time, we have a ton of opportunities for that post-tournament that you can enjoy. But if not, hopefully you had fun, maybe you threw down some beverages, had some great food, and had a chance to enjoy our city in truly one of its finest weeks.
Could you take a second and talk about some of those post-event opportunities?
Yeah, I think from getting involved in the game of golf, at one point in time meant you were playing 18 holes of golf on the weekend or after work or anything like that. And, the barrier of quote unquote playing golf has become so much lower now. We have our very own Topgolf facility, which is such a family-friendly entry point to the game of golf, very similar to bowling, obviously. That to me is golfing, right? We already mentioned the city of Memphis has put in a ton of investment into all of our public golf courses throughout the Memphis area. That includes a 9-hole golf course at Overton Park. That includes a 6-hole short par 3 course at Audubon, which is brand new. All of those are really low barrier to entry ways to pick up a club and try to swing try to find your swing in the game of golf. Audubon even has a driving range for the first time ever, which, if you want to go out there and just whack at a few balls for an hour, have at it. That's playing golf to me. Beyond that, certainly there's a number of great country clubs that go from ultra private to more fun and family friendly that people can join. There's a number of programs like the First Tee. I know the city of Memphis or Memphis Shelby County Schools has a summer camp dedicated to golf. There's tons of ways for kids to learn how to pick up the clubs. One of our favorite things is that if you become a member of the First Tee or participate in one of their camps, you actually get access to the city courses completely free. There's a lot of great ways for kids that are looking to pick up a club for the first time to get involved, and we're continuing to try to learn and develop more opportunities for adults or young professionals to pick up the club for the first time too.
That's awesome. So on a personal note, how has the tournament impacted you?
Well, I wouldn't be in Memphis if it weren't for the tournament. I'll say that. My wife and I, as I said, moved here in December of 2021 because of the tournament. And as I mentioned, we've found a home. We've really enjoyed living here. My wife coaches lacrosse now at Los Ann and has really got involved in that world. It's given us a chance to explore a city and call a city home really for the first time since we left our childhood homes, which is awesome. Being a part of this event and the community surrounding it plays a key role in that. The fondness of people's memories and devotion to making this tournament bigger and better has really been what's ingratiated us to the city. In addition to the diversity of culture, there's constantly something to do, somewhere new to try, to eat or explore, or go take in the views for the first time. We have a running notes tab on our phone that every time we talk to someone, they make a new recommendation. And we're 3.5 years into living here, and we have come nowhere close to checking everything off. And in fact, it keeps growing as we add more and more great amenities in our city. So it's been amazing for us. It's allowed us to bring family and friends to our city, either hosting them at the golf tournament or just come visiting us another time of year. People that, again, probably would have never come to Memphis and not marked it off their list as a destination. But we've brought countless people here who have had such an incredible time and left thinking, wow, I didn't know that this was what Memphis looked like or was like. And we want to keep doing that more and more through the golf tournament and just as individuals.
I love to hear that. So as we're starting to wrap up, I have a couple more questions for you. But for those looking to get involved, what's the best way to get involved? You mentioned there was some volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, it goes across the gamut, right? So FedExChampionship.com is our website. There's obviously a plethora of opportunities and information on the website. I'd say it runs the gamut. If you are a corporation or involved with a business that has a need to entertain customers, have an employee appreciation event, potentially develop some new business. There's a ton of corporate hospitality or suite packages that we have available. All you need to do is really just call our office or inquire online, and someone will be in touch with you about those different packages. Certainly buy tickets, right? That's the best way to get people out there and to show your support. A lot of people might receive tickets from friends at FedEx or AutoZone or friends that are volunteering, and that's great, and we want people to keep doing that. But maybe this year, give that ticket to a neighbor who hasn't been before and doesn't know what the tournament's about, and go buy another one. The more we can spread the word about the event, the greater impact we can have. And then finally, volunteerism. It takes 1,600 volunteers to run this golf tournament. My team, we say we work for 51 weeks. That 52nd is really run by volunteers. And there's an incredible passion amongst the volunteer community that keep coming back each and every year. We make pins for every 5 years of service, and we are now on to making 45-year pins because people have been doing this for so long. But there's, everything from greeting fans at the gate to, making sure our players have enough water to stay hydrated and everything in between. There's a ton of fun opportunities to be out there volunteer, either as a group, whether it's a church group, neighborhood, company, or just as an individual, as an opportunity to meet and make new friends out here. So all of that information is on our website, again, FedExChampionship.com.
Okay, Joe, last question for you. What's one thing you'd want every Memphian to know or feel about the FedEx St. Jude Championship and how it helps make our city stronger?
I think, I've probably harped on it already. The event's for everyone. It is so much more than just a golf tournament. It is something that truly everyone can have an enjoyable time at. If I joke a lot, if you're of age and 21 and over, Tito's has an incredible lounge that is open to the public, and if you spend your entire day in there with your friends and family and enjoying a cocktail from Tito's, that's a great experience, and I bet you found a worthwhile day, whether you saw a shot of golf or not. This is, I truly believe, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, annual event that our city hosts, and it's been around for a very long time, and so that's positive in the sense that everyone has a fond memory and a historical perception of the event, but it's also changed very drastically. And so if you haven't been in 5, 10, 15 years, I encourage you to come back out for the first time and see it in its new glory. And you'll see our city at its finest. The companies out there supporting our tournament and really embracing this opportunity of global exposure for our city. You have great partners like the Chamber or others that are using it as an economic driver. You have people like Memphis Tourism that are really helping us attract out-of-towners to come to our city. And to me, that always goes beyond just the hours that we're open. I know from my team, we have such an incredibly talented group of team members and volunteers that the experience you're going to have on site is going to be positive. I can say that with full confidence. But your decision of whether you want to come back and make it an annual event, if you're an out-of-towner, is reliant upon the rest of the community. What their experience is getting into the airport, where they're staying in their hotel, the restaurants that they experience outside of tournament week. All of that plays a critical role in whether they want to keep coming back each and every year. And so the more that our community can continue to embrace and put its best foot forward for the players, the partners, the ticket holders, the media members that are coming to town each year for this, the better overall we will be from a perception standpoint as people leave. We recently heard some sports media have a differing opinion about the city of Memphis. We have a great opportunity in a month with media personalities and some of the best players in the world coming to our city. Let's show them that they're wrong, that the talking heads of Stephen A. Smith and others are incorrect about their assessment of Memphis. And hopefully when he gets a chance to be here in a few weeks at the mayor's invitation, he'll change his tune as well. But that is the opportunity that we have with this golf tournament is to truly help rewrite the perception of the outside world with Memphis.
100%. I totally agree. Joe, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We are so glad that you're here. Thank you for taking the time to teach us about golf and the history of the tournament and just the economic and community impact it has.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Once again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Talk Chamber. We are so glad you're here. To sum up what we heard from Joe today, the FedEx St. Jude Championship is more than just a golf tournament. It's an economic driver, community unifier, and puts Memphis on the map in more ways than one. If you enjoyed this episode or learned a valuable piece of information, share this episode with a friend or a few. Subscribe to The Talk Chamber to keep up with the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Follow us on social media at Memphis Chamber, and we'll see you next time.